The restaurant was packed. Plates clinked, conversations buzzed, and somewhere near the kitchen, glass shattered. Samantha Morgan crouched down quickly, picking up the broken pieces of what used to be a water glass. Her hands shook, not from fear of the glass, but from the heat of her manager Frank's glare burning into her from across the dining room. "Third one this month, Morgan," he said loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Coming out of your check." Samantha muttered a quick, "Sorry, Frank, won't happen again," as she dumped the shards into the trash. She felt eyes on her, some sympathetic, some pretending she didn't exist. But she didn't care. She couldn't lose this job. Not when her mum's medication cost more than their rent. She straightened up, smoothed her apron, and headed back out with a tight jaw. She was only 27, but her hands were toughened, covered in tiny scars from burns and cuts. 4 years ago, she was in med school, halfway to becoming a pediatrician, top of her class, stethoscope hanging proud around her neck. Professors used to say she had something special. Kids loved her, but all that ended when her mum collapsed in their little apartment. Multiple sclerosis, expensive medication, she couldn't work anymore. And Samantha, she dropped out to take care of her. "Samantha, table 12 needs bread. Where's your head?" Frank's voice broke through her thoughts. "On it," she called, grabbing a bread basket and weaving between tables. Her back already ached, and she had hours to go. She worked noon to close, 6 days a week. The other waitresses, mostly college kids, picked up shifts for extra cash. Samantha worked for survival. Jessica, the newest and youngest waitress, came over with a sneaky grin. "Hey, can you cover my section for like 20 minutes? Brad's outside. He surprised me." Samantha didn't even look at her. "Jess, I've been here since noon. I've got my own tables." "Come on, you owe me," Jessica said. "Remember last week, when your mum's doctor called? That call had lasted 7 minutes, not 20, and it had been about a treatment they couldn't afford anyway." Samantha sighed. "Fine. 20 minutes, not a second more." Jessica bounced away, and Samantha doubled up on sections. She could feel Frank watching, probably hoping she'd trip up. He'd been acting worse since she called out the new tip. Pooling system, one that always left her with less than she earned. By 9 o'clock, Jessica still hadn't returned. Samantha's feet throbbed in her worn-out shoes. She'd been saving for new ones for months, but every time she got close, something broke. Appliances, medical bills, rent increases. "The schedule's up," Frank announced, pinning next. "Week's shifts to the board." Samantha waited for the crowd to clear and checked. Her heart dropped, from 7 shifts a week down to 3. "Frank, there must be a mistake," she said, catching up to him in the office hallway. "I'm down 4 shifts. He didn't look up. "Not a mistake. We're overstaffed. But I've worked those shifts for a year. Jessica needs more hours. She's trying to make rent. She lives with her parents." Samantha said, her voice shaking. "She told everyone she's saving for Cancun." Frank shrugged. "Not my problem. Schedule's final." Samantha walked back to the floor, breathing slow to keep from breaking down. She had to stay calm, had to make what money she could tonight. She'd figure something out. She always did. As she neared her section, she noticed a new table. Man, in a sharp suit, little girl in a wheelchair. The girl's head was down, hands clenched tight on the armrests. No other server had gone near them. Samantha's jaw tightened. She'd seen this before. Other staff avoiding tables with disabilities because they took too much time. It made her sick. She walked up with a smile. "Hi there. I'm Samantha. I'll be taking care of you tonight." The man looked up, guarded at first, but then softened. "Thanks. I'm Lucas, and this is my daughter, Emma." Samantha knelt to Emma's eye level. "It's very nice to meet you, Emma. Can I get you both something to drink?" Emma didn't respond. She just stared at the table. Samantha noticed her tense shoulders, the way noise seemed to get to her. Sensory sensitivity. Maybe neurological. "I'll have water," Lucas said, Em'll take strawberry lemonade. Samantha returned with their drinks a few minutes later. She placed the lemonade in front of Emma carefully, using her body to shield her from the crowded walkway. "You ready to order?" she asked gently. Lucas glanced at his daughter, then answered for her. "I'll take the salmon. Emma will have the chicken tenders with mashed potatoes." Samantha saw Emma lingering over the picture of mac and cheese on the kids' menu. She crouched again. "You know, our mac and cheese has 3 kinds of cheese and crunchy breadcrumbs. It's the best in the city, if I do say so myself." Emma looked at her, surprised, then gave the smallest nod. "Mac and cheese it is," Samantha said with a wink. Lucas gave her a look, not annoyed, more like curious, as if he was trying to figure her out. Back at the kitchen window, Frank stopped her. "Why are you wasting time with table 7? Jessica says her section's a mess." "I'm handling it," Samantha said flatly. "She was gone an hour. Stop coddling the wheelchair kid. We're not a therapy center." Samantha clenched her jaw. She wanted to shout at him, but didn't. She had work to do. When the food was ready, she brought it over. Emma struggled with her fork. Her right hand shook, couldn't grip properly. "Excuse me," Lucas said softly. "Could you help?" Samantha didn't hesitate. She pulled. "Up a chair. Mind if I sit with you a moment, Emma?" Emma nodded. "You know," Samantha said casually, "our bodies are like machines. Sometimes one part just needs a little help. But your brain, it's working just fine." She helped guide Emma's hand. "You're not broken, just rerouting." Emma smiled when she got a bite of food in. "I had an accident," she whispered. "That's why I can't walk." "Well," Samantha said, "you're doing great with that fork." "I can draw," Emma added, a little proud, "but only with my left hand now." "That's amazing," Samantha said. "Most people can't draw at all." She stood to leave and caught Frank's glare again, but just then Emma laughed. That soft musical sound made half the nearby diners smile. Lucas met her eyes. He mouthed, "Thank you." What Samantha didn't know then was that everything, her future, her mother's care, her long-lost dream, was about to change. Samantha kept circling the restaurant, juggling Jessica's section and her own, sneaking in quick visits to Emma and Lucas's table. Each time she checked in not just as a server, but as someone who genuinely cared. Emma started talking more about her art teacher, her drawings, even her cat named Waffles, who had one eye and a bad attitude. Lucas just watched silently, his expression softening every time his daughter laughed or smiled. You could see it. It was like he'd been holding his breath for months and was just now starting to breathe again. When the meal ended, Samantha brought the check and a packet of crayons with a coloring page of the restaurant's logo. "On the house," she told Emma with a wink. Lucas handed her a credit card, and she noticed the name on it, Lucas Bennett. Something about that name tugged at her memory, but she couldn't place it. When she returned with the receipt, Lucas gave her a folded bill. "Emma and I would like you to have this. You turned what could have been a hard night into something really special." "Just doing my job," Samantha replied, even though they both knew it wasn't true. As they stood to leave, Emma looked up and asked, "Will you be here if we come back tomorrow?" Samantha opened her mouth to answer, but before she could say a word, Frank was suddenly at her side. "Samantha, my office. Now." Lucas looked at Frank, frowning, but didn't say anything. Samantha forced a polite smile. "I'm just finishing up with my customers." "Immediately," Frank snapped. "Jessica can handle the rest." Samantha gave Emma one last reassuring look, then followed Frank to his cramped, sour-smelling office. "Close the door," he said. Samantha stayed standing. "Problem?" she asked, her voice flat. "You tell me," Frank said, leaning back, with a smug look. "I watched you spend over half an hour at one table. We're not running a daycare here. Time management, Morgan. That's going in your file." She needed help. That child was struggling to eat. "Not our concern. We're a restaurant, not a rehab clinic. You're punishing me for helping a disabled guest? I'm adjusting your shifts. 2 next week, 1 dinner, 1 lunch. Jessica's better for business. Samantha blinked. 2 shifts? Frank, that's barely gas money. You know I need this. He tossed her a small envelope. Here's your share of tonight's tips. Jessica covered extra tables, so we adjusted the pool. Samantha opened the envelope in the parking lot. $43. For a 10-hour shift where she'd made more than 3 times that. Her legs gave out, and she sat on the hood of her old car. Tears pricked her eyes, but she blinked them away. Crying wouldn't pay the pharmacy. She got home past midnight. The lights were off, but a little sticky note from Mrs. Chen, their kind neighbor, was on the counter. Your mom had a good day, ate all her dinner, no tremors. I left soup for you. Samantha smiled weakly. Without Mrs. Chen's help, she couldn't even work. She walked into her mother's bedroom. Eleanor Morgan lay asleep, her breath soft and steady. The medication tray was neatly arranged. A small Mercy. In the kitchen, Samantha opened her laptop, intending to search for job openings. The browser was still sitting on her old med school portal. She visited it sometimes, like picking at a wound. Her student account was still active. Her professors hadn't deactivated it out of respect. A small notification blinked. 1. Unread. Message from Dr. Winters. Samantha clicked it. Samantha, a research position just opened in our pediatric neurology department. Despite your absence, your name still comes up. I've spoken to the committee about reviewing a late application. It comes with tuition remission and a stipend. Call me. Dr. Winters. The message was from 3 weeks ago. The application deadline? Yesterday, Samantha replied anyway, heart-pounding, typing out a desperate message explaining everything. Her mother, the job, the hours. Then she closed the laptop and just sat there staring at a pile of bills. Rent, final notices, her mom's. Next prescription was $800 after insurance. She didn't have $80. Just after dawn, there was a knock at the door. She froze. No one visited them this early. She looked through the peephole. A courier. Delivery for Samantha Morgan, he said when she opened it. She signed the clipboard. He handed her a thick cream envelope and walked away. The return address read, Bennett Enterprises. Inside was a single sheet of heavyweight paper and a business card. The card said, Lucas Bennett, CEO, Bennett Restaurant Group. There was a handwritten note. The golden spoon is one of mine. Samantha nearly dropped the letter. Lucas wasn't just some customer. He was the owner, Frank's boss. The note continued. Ms. Morgan, your kindness to my daughter last night was extraordinary. In just one evening, you showed more compassion and intelligence than I've seen in people with decades of titles. I'd like to meet again to discuss something that could benefit us both. A car will arrive at 9 a.m. The driver will wait for 10 minutes. Emma asks that you consider it carefully. She has more questions about brain pathways that only a medical student can answer. Samantha's hand trembled. How had he found her address? What did he want? What did any of this mean? At exactly 9 a.m., a sleek black car pulled up in front of her building. Samantha had already made a frantic call to Mrs. Chen, who agreed to stay with her mother. She changed 3 times before settling on the one outfit she had left from her med school interviews. Navy blazer, white blouse, and slacks. A little outdated, but clean. It would have to do. The driver didn't speak as Samantha slid into the soft leather seat. She could feel her chest tighten with nerves. Was this a job offer? A trap? Did he find out about Frank? What if he thought she crossed a line? The car pulled into a skyscraper garage in the heart of downtown. A sign outside read, Bennett Enterprises. The driver handed her a security card. Mr. Bennett is waiting on the 40th floor. Samantha stepped into a private elevator. It rose fast, so fast it made her ears pop. When the doors opened, she walked into a beautiful reception area with massive windows and marble floors. A young man at the desk barely looked up. Mr. Bennett's expecting you. Conference room, second door on the right. She knocked gently. To her surprise, it wasn't a boardroom. It was a small table for three, a breakfast tray, a pot of tea, and Emma in her wheelchair smiling. "You came," Emma grinned. "I thought you might be too busy." Samantha couldn't help but smile back. "Glad I wasn't. Dad's dealing with something. Said to start without him. He also said adults forget to eat, so I'm supposed to make you have a pastry." Emma pushed a plate toward her. "I recommend the raspberry ones," she said. "Seriously?" Samantha sat down, charmed and totally caught off guard. Emma had grown bolder overnight, stronger. "How did you even know where I live?" Samantha asked. Emma shrugged. "Dad says information is power. He knows everything." Just as she took a bite, the door opened, and Lucas Bennett walked in. No longer a customer in a suit. Now he looked like what he really was, a powerful man with a serious purpose. "I apologize for the delay," he said. Something came. Up at the Golden Spoon. The way he said it made Samantha's stomach twist. She had no idea what was coming next. Lucas gave his daughter a small smile. "Emma, would you mind going with Miss Angela to the Model City exhibit downstairs? Miss Morgan and I need a few minutes to talk." Emma looked unsure but nodded. "You're going to tell her, right?" she asked, side-eyeing her dad. Lucas gave a quiet chuckle. "Adult talk first." After Emma left, Lucas's tone shifted. More direct, more business. "I've owned the Golden Spoon for 6 months now," he began. "Bought it as part of a package. I hadn't stepped foot inside until last night." Samantha nodded slowly. And what I saw wasn't just bad management, it was abusive. Your manager, Frank, was manipulating schedules, altering tip records, and punishing you specifically." Samantha stiffened. "How do you know all that?" Lucas pushed a folder across the table. Inside were financial records, payroll logs, and, most shocking, Samantha's personnel file. Everything was documented. Every time Frank docked her, pay, changed her shifts, or shorted her tips, it was all there in black and white. "My team audited everything last night," Lucas said. "He's been skimming tips for months, mostly from you." The conference room door suddenly slammed open. Frank burst in, red-faced and shouting. Behind him, Lucas's assistant looked apologetic. "You set me up," Frank yelled at Samantha. "You and your little crippled accomplice." Lucas stood slowly, his voice cold. "That crippled accomplice is my daughter. Watch your mouth." Frank froze. "Wait, you—" "Yes," Lucas said. "I'm your boss, and now you're fired. Hand over your keys, your access badge, and leave the premises. Security is waiting outside." Frank's bluster faded quickly. He looked around, realized the weight of his mistake, and walked out without another word. Once the door clicked shut, Lucas turned back to Samantha. "Now," he said, his voice softer, "let's talk about you." Samantha couldn't believe what just happened. Her heart was racing. "How do you even know about med school?" she asked quietly. Lucas folded his hands. "After what I saw last night, your calm, your instincts, the way Emma responded, I had my team do some digging. You were in your 2nd year, top of your class, pediatric specialty. You withdrew the same week your mother was diagnosed with MS. Samantha felt exposed. You looked into my life without asking." "I did," Lucas admitted, "and I'm sorry if that feels invasive, but I had to know who you were." He took a breath. "So here it is, plain and simple. I'm offering you a job. Actually, a few options." Samantha blinked. "What kind of job?" "First," he said, "General Manager of the Golden Spoon, effective immediately, full benefits, triple. The salary you made waiting tables, insurance that covers your mother's treatment completely." Samantha's jaw tightened. That was more than she'd ever dared to hope for. "Second," he continued, "a position in our community health initiative. It's a branch of Bennett Enterprises that funds clinics in underserved neighborhoods. You'd be using your medical training. It pays more than the restaurant job." She looked at him, suspicious now. "Why would you offer that to someone you just met?" Lucas leaned forward. Because in 15 minutes you accomplished what an army of doctors, therapists, and specialists couldn't. Emma smiled. She talked. She connected. You saw her, not as broken, but as a kid with a lot left to give. That's priceless too. Me. He slid a third folder toward her. This one's different. Samantha opened it and froze. It was an acceptance letter to Monroe Medical School's re-entry program. Dated today. It included a full scholarship and a generous living stipend. Attached was a business card. Dr. Rachel Winters, her old advisor. I called in a favor, Lucas said. Dr. Winters sits with me on a hospital board. When I told her what happened, she knew exactly who you were. Tears welled in Samantha's eyes. This is too much. I'm not done, Lucas said gently. Your mother. We own several fully accessible apartments for executives. One is available now. It comes with full-time care through our insurance. It would all be handled. Samantha stood suddenly, overwhelmed. I need some air. Lucas nodded toward the glass doors. Balcony's private. She stepped outside, wind brushing against her face. Below her, the city moved like it always did. Cars, people, life. But up here, everything had changed. She was being offered everything she'd lost. Her career, stability for her mom, a purpose. But it also scared her. Was it real? Or just a rich man buying her because his daughter liked her? When she returned, Emma had rejoined her father. Her eyes sparkled. Are you going to be my doctor someday? She asked shyly. Lucas chuckled. She's been Googling medical schools. Samantha smiled despite herself. Then she looked at Lucas. Serious again. If I say yes, she said, it has to be because I earned it. Not because you're trying to buy a friend for your daughter or a personal therapist. I wouldn't want it any other way, Lucas said. And your mother's care is unconditional. Emma leaned forward in her chair. Very disappointed. If you say no, she said, teasing. Samantha knelt beside her. Then maybe, she said with a smile, I know a student who could help explain brain pathways, and maybe even eat raspberry pastries with you while she does it. Emma grinned. It was the kind of grin that made everything worth it. 1 year later, Samantha walked through the doors of Monroe Medical School, white coat over her shoulder, coffee in hand, and her tablet full of notes. The air was crisp, her heart calm. She had done it. She had come back. Hey, Sam, her classmate Lydia whispered as they slid into their seats. You ready for Dr. Saunders' quiz? Crammed cerebellar development until 2 a.m., Samantha said, stifling a yawn. Her phone buzzed. Mom, water therapy today. Feeling stronger. Dinner at your place? Emma requested apple cobbler again. Samantha smiled to herself. It was wild. How much could change in 1 year? Her mother now lived in a fully accessible apartment with on-call care, 1 floor down from Lucas and Emma's penthouse. What started as shared meals and check-ins had turned into a real family. Sunday dinners, board games, inside jokes. Emma had started calling Eleanor Grandma L, like it had always been that way. After class, Dr. Winters caught her by the door. Samantha, a moment. She followed her into an office, surprised to see Lucas already there. You're early, Samantha said, half joking. Lucas smiled, but his expression was serious, a little nervous even. There's something we want to tell you. Dr. Winters gestured to a thick booklet on the desk. It had a crisp white cover and the gold-embossed seal of the Bennett Foundation. The title read, The Emma Bennett Center for Pediatric Rehabilitation, Samantha's. Heart stopped. She flipped through the pages. Inside were renderings of therapy rooms, family lounges, sensory safe zones. Some of them designed based on notes and conversations she'd had with Emma over the past year. Bright paint, open space, adaptive tech. It was everything they'd ever talked about, and more. It's happening, Lucas said. We broke ground last week. Opens in 18 months. Samantha looked up at him, her hands shaking slightly. You actually built it. We're building it, Lucas corrected, which brings us to why we're here. The center's going to need a medical director, someone who understands the clinical and emotional side of pediatric care. Dr. Winters stepped in. We want to fast-track a specialized track for you. Extra rotations, certifications, leadership training. All of it designed to prepare you for the director role once you finish residency. Samantha stared at both of them. I'm not even halfway through med school. Why would you pick me? Lucas smiled softly. Because you don't just see symptoms, you see people. You saw Emma when no one else could reach her. That's rare, Samantha. That's what leadership in medicine should be. Samantha's throat tightened. This is a lot. We know, Dr. Winters said. We're not handing it to you. We're preparing you to earn it. You'll have to compete for the final placement. Top 3 students will qualify. But right now, you're at the top. Lucas pulled something from his briefcase and handed it to her. It was a folded piece of drawing paper. She opened it carefully. Crayon. Figures stood in front of a building labeled Emma's Hospital. The figures were stick drawings labeled Dad, Sam, and Emma, holding hands. Underneath it, in Emma's uneven but improving handwriting, were the words, "My family fixed me. Now we can fix other kids too." Tears welled up in Samantha's eyes. The weight of it all settled in her chest, not in a heavy way, but warm and full. One night, one simple act of kindness had changed everything, not just for Emma, but for her, for Eleanor, for the kind of doctor she was becoming. Later that night, Samantha stood in her kitchen, pulling a bubbling cobbler from the oven. The apartment smelled like cinnamon and vanilla. Her phone buzzed. Emma, group text. Dad said he told you about the hospital. Can we celebrate tonight? Eleanor. I'm bringing extra cobbler. So proud of you, sweetheart, Samantha laughed, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Samantha, celebration tonight. I'm bringing the ice cream. And Emma, get your colored pencils ready. We've got some treatment rooms to design. She looked out the window toward the hospital she'd once dreamed of entering and smiled. Sometimes life didn't go the way you planned. Sometimes it got harder before it got better. But once in, a while, just when you least expected it, the life you deserved found you anyway, and this time she was ready for it.